Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you're deep into the ergonomic keyboard rabbit hole, you already know the ultimate quest, right? It's all about achieving that absolutely perfect, tailor-made layout for your MoErgo board. We want every single key exactly where our fingers expect it to be. But let's be real, usually unlocking that god-tier level of customization means staring down a massively intimidating wall of code, and honestly, spending hours just troubleshooting a missing comma. Well, today we're exploring a breakthrough outlined by Musi Research regarding the MoErgo layout editor, and we're going to see exactly how it removes that intimidation factor entirely.
Okay, let's dive into this. How do you build the perfect keyboard layout without breaking your code? It's kind of the classic dilemma for keyboard enthusiasts. On one hand, you really want the user-friendly ease of visual menus, right? But on the other hand, you definitely don't want to sacrifice the raw, limitless flexibility of hardcore text-based programming. Normally, you have to pick a side, but as we're about to see, that whole dynamic is completely shifting.
Section 1, Visual Power, the GUI. Think of this native GUI as the easy mode that still packs a massive punch. It's essentially like the sleek dashboard of an automatic sports car.
But before we get completely lost in the GUI's features, we briefly need to define what's actually under the hood. Enter ZMK DTS code. That stands for Device Tree Source Syntax. Essentially, it's the raw programming language used to write custom key actions, layers, and behaviors for ZMK keyboard firmware. For any absolute beginners out there, this is the literal magic language that makes your keyboard tick. When you're using the visual layout editor, you aren't actually avoiding this code. The editor is just doing the heavy lifting for you. It's generating perfectly clean, valid DTS code right behind the scenes.
In this native GUI, it is a plug-and-play game changer. Because the interface translates your clicks into perfect DTS syntax automatically, it requires absolutely zero coding on your end. None. That means your configurations are guaranteed to be error-free. You completely eliminate the risk of syntax-related build failures that constantly plague manual coders. Plus, you get a live visual feed of your key map. It's just so much easier to visualize the physical placement of your keys on a screen rather than trying to decipher a giant text file. It also supports what you see is what you get locales, so your international characters display exactly as they're going to type out. And to top the whole thing off, it features built-in visual key selectors and dedicated wizards that make complex functions, like setting a key to tap for a letter but hold for a modifier, completely simple.
But the GUI goes way beyond just clicking keys. It automates the real heavy lifting of layout management. Take dependency handling, for example. If you rename or move layers and behaviors, the editor automatically updates every single reference. Bam! No broken links. Then there's layer portability, which lets you seamlessly copy entire layers and behaviors right between different layouts. And visual organization. You get to rely on a super intuitive point-and-click interface to clearly order your logic. These specific automated tools make notoriously complex setups like configuring home row mods or keeping your configuration perfectly synced across both the Glove 80 and a Go 60, stuff that used to be a massive headache, completely effortless and risk-free.
Section 2, Under the Hood, Custom Code. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it introduces the alternative for power users who really want to get under the hood with a wrench. While the GUI is absolutely perfect for most folks, some of you want full control. Let's directly contrast these two methods to see the trade-offs. On one side, we have the native GUI. It's click and drag, entirely error-free, relies on visual tools, and handles the DTS generation for you. On the other side, we have custom-defined behaviors. This is where you directly write the raw DTS syntax. Now, this route definitely has a steeper learning curve, and build errors can honestly be pretty tough to troubleshoot because you get limited feedback from ZMK. But in exchange, you unlock limitless flexibility. You can leverage the absolute latest cutting-edge ZMK features that might not even be built into the GUI yet.
Section 3, the ultimate hybrid solution. Up to this point, it kind of sounds like you have to make a really hard choice, right? Visuals or code? Well, get ready for the climax of this explainer because here's the big reveal. You actually do not have to choose.
Hybrid customization. The true power of the MoErgo layout editor lies in its ability to let you freely mix and match. You aren't locked into one lane. You can utilize the visual, bulletproof native GUI features for the vast majority of your board, while simultaneously dropping in custom ZMK code exactly where you need it.
To validate just how seamless this is, let's look at this exact quote from the source material. It states, you can, quote, craft new specialized functions using custom code and seamlessly integrate them alongside GUI-defined layers and modifiers for a truly tailored hybrid experience, end quote.
What this really means is you can write specific, cutting-edge new behaviors in code within the custom dialog, all while keeping the heavy lifting of your layer organization completely visual. It's literally the best of both worlds with absolutely zero compromises.
Section 4. Lightning-fast firmware builds. Once your layout is perfected, it's time to actually get it onto your keyboard. And keep in mind, you've done all this design work on a seamless web application at my.moergo.com, requiring absolutely zero installation. The deployment process is remarkably simple. Step 1. Click Build right there in the Layout Editor. Step 2. The built-in cloud compiler instantly processes your hybrid configuration. Step 3. You simply download the ready-to-flash .uf2 firmware file, and this brilliantly illustrates how users can completely bypass the traditional headaches of keyboard configuration. Seriously, you don't need complex local coding environments, you don't need to mess with command lines, and you don't need to manage GitHub repositories.
And how long does that cloud compiler take to process your brand new layout? 5 seconds. The cloud compiler generates that ready-to-use firmware file in approximately 5 seconds. You literally just download the file, load it onto both halves of your keyboard, and you start typing. It is built for pure speed, fundamentally democratizing the full power of ZMK so that absolutely anyone, regardless of their technical background, can jump in and use it.
Which brings us to the end of our breakdown. By removing the massive barriers of syntax errors and local compiling, the layout editor completely changes the game. So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative question. What will you build when the full power of ZMK is finally simplified? Whether you're a beginner exploring ergonomic layers for the very first time or a seasoned expert fine-tuning advanced macros, the tools are now right at your fingertips. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy building!